All right, now we are recording. So if you are going to share your social security number, a little too late. Don't do it now. So, all right, hold on. You know what? It'll help if I. Oh, Uta's here. Hey, Uta. She'll be on in just a second. Okay, so you'll have to excuse me, all of you, because as we start, I'm still letting people in and I don't do two things well at once. Our regular attendees to these are used to it. So if you're new, I apologize. So first of all, welcome to the very first of our second series of Classes for the Curious Musician. These have been so much fun. And tonight, one of my favorite rock stars in the entire world is here. So before I introduce her, I am, oh, hold on. Oh, I almost hung up on somebody. See, this is it's bad. Reva, if I mute you by accident, I'm really sorry. That would be bad. So a couple of housekeeping things for everyone that I totally hid. So forgetting that I had to read them. Okay, we're going to try and do my memory. So keep yourself muted if you would. And the chat box, when you have questions, throw them in the chat box. Either Reva will see them and answer them, or I'll throw them at her and say, yo, so-and-so wants to know this. It always works really, really well. And we are recording this, and so it will be available usually by tomorrow on our Huthmaker Violins YouTube channel. And you can check this one out, share it far and wide to any adults that you know that would love it. Also, the 8 videos from our last series are up there, so you can share them as well and enjoy them. It's cool. One of our participants right now, Uta is here. She's the violin maker that was in our last series. So if you want to learn about violin making, go check that out. So Uta, I don't know if you can tell, my parents are waving at you. If you're new to this and you can't tell, we're like one big happy family, and so you'll have to excuse us if we just act very casual, but that's how we are. So we have 8 of these lined up. I cannot remember what is next week. I'll figure it out while we're doing this and let you know, so you can set your calendar. What is it we say next week? Same bat time, same bat channel. I'm hoping you all understand that. So I am going to then turn it over. So tonight's clinician is one of my favorite people on the entire planet. I always tell people that I love doing these classes because I get to hire all my favorite people. But Reva, she really does take the cake. When I was lucky enough to play in a Celtic band, she was our fiddler. She's extraordinary in all kinds of genres. She's very shy and retiring, so you know we'll have to pull her out of her shell a little bit. Reva, it is all yours. Thank you for being here, sweetie.
Oh, you're welcome. And I just want to say thank you so much to the Huthmakers. You guys, ever since lockdown, you're one of the few things that makes everything feel like a community still. And these have been amazing. All the videos that you had, the stay at home with oh my gosh, guys, check out their YouTube channel. I'm sure you all have, but it's amazing. And I love it. And I miss you guys so much. Seriously, Atlanta's so lucky to have you. Anywho, okay, so I'll just jump in. So my name's Reva. Hello. And when it comes to, I don't want to talk too much or anything. I really want to get in and do some examples and stuff and I'll get into the meat. But I wanted to start by saying, you know, the old saying that some people master or jack of all trades, master of none. I think that I have now coined for me, I am a master at being a jack of all trades because I have been so lucky to play so many different genres for so many different people. Here's my only caveat, and I'm not going to say this again because I hate when people apologize like over and over, but I will say, I'm going to teach a bunch of different styles. I'm going to teach the stuff that I know about them. If you want to know more about it and get it deeper, there are some incredible, we live in the most amazing age where you can just like, I want to get really good at Texas style fiddle. And there's books and there's YouTube channels. And now you can like take videos with like your like greats, you know, you can do video lessons and chats and everything. So if you want to learn more about them, please go deeper. What I'm going to show you today is how I cheat. Not that I cheat, but like little hacks. So how I'm able to like mix and I figure, oh, if I do this, I'll sound more like I fit in. And I am not knocking classical musicians at all, because I think that what classical musicians, I am a classical musician, they're like surgeons. I love how you take a sound and with your finger and you just move it in just a certain way, you can get just the certain sound. And I love it. We're just going to hit a different kind of surgery, and maybe it's going to be not with a scalpel and like with a bat, because sometimes that's just how I see some of these different genres. So anyway, that's my, oh, and the other thing that I was going to say, and then I'm going to get into the fun stuff. If there's something that you want, of course, what everybody always says, you need to listen. You're right. You need to listen. If there's something that you love, you need to listen. Well, two cool things. There is, if you go on YouTube and you go to like the little settings guy, if you find something you like, you can change the speed on that person's performance and it doesn't change the pitch. So like if I find a song that I like, I just go on YouTube and I turn it to like half or like whatever, and I can practice really slow until I get it. It is amazing. You're welcome, Dixie. But you can't do it on your phone, or that I found on the app on my iPhone. But I do this with my son all the time because he does Suzuki violin, and there's some amazing channels that have like, you know, because I play piano not good. So, but I want him to practice with the piano, right? But they always play the Suzuki song so fast. So you can just slow it down and it doesn't change the pitch. It's a little bit, you know, back, Anna, when we had the amazing slow downer. Yeah, that sort of thing. So that's amazing. And there's another app that my dad will have to put in the chat that he told me about, and I keep meaning to, hi, Paul Jean, that I keep meaning to download. So you're going to have to remind me what it is, Dad. But so there's lots of things where if you love it, just slow it down, you'll figure it out. Okay. So that's an awesome way to practice stuff that you love. There's a guy, what is it? Colin Farrell, not that Colin Farrell, different Colin Farrell. Audio stretch. Thanks, Dad. He uses that with his students to slow down stuff, and you can loop it. So you can practice a section over and over. Love it. Okay. So, yeah, Colin Farrell, he wrote a tune a day for an entire year. He's a Celtic fiddler. And there's this one day, oh, it was day 326. That's my day. I was on YouTube listening to that on constant loop for like 3 days until I figured it out. And now I rock it. I love that song. So thank you, technology. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach a couple genres. I'm going to go start with Celtic, and I'll tell you what I know about how to make yourself sound legit in Celtic. And then I'm going to go to fiddle, and then rock, and then jazz, blues, and then we're going to do some basic improv. And yeah, so we're going to start with Celtic because it's St. Patrick's Day next week, and that's what brought Anna and I together, and I'm so thankful for that, and I absolutely love it. And the Celtic world, I've met so many amazing people in it. So, but like I said, I'm a Suzuki violinist. That's where I came from. And I've been in it for almost 2 decades now in the Celtic world. And I've been so lucky. So these are the cheats that I've learned. I mean, the amazing techniques that I have learned that make me sound like I know what I'm doing. So first off, when you're doing Celtic music, it is incredibly important. The first and most important thing you do is you are trying to get people to dance. So you have to get their ears and their feet to figure out where the beat is. So we're going to start with a jig. A jig is in 6/8 time. And yeah, so I'm going to play it where I am letting all the notes that know that I'm very important. All right. All right, that's Irish Washerwoman, great tune. All of the notes were important, but that's not what we want to do. So when it comes to a jig, to make it dance, you want beats 1 and beats 4 to pop. And the other guys, so listen to the difference. That's all you got to do. And it already, you're like, oh, I'm amazing. So definitely, that's a good place to start. Let me do another tune. All right, so we got jigs. That's how you make a jig pop. Now, you've also got reels. Oh, my other caveat for Celtic music. Oh, sorry, quick. Okay, so I am using Celtic as an overreaching thing, but if you could talk about Celtic, it's Irish or it's Scottish, right? And then you can break it down into a bunch of different subgenres and stuff. Cape Breton, oh, it's delicious. I am condensing it down into a big pot right now. And some of these things work with this and some of the, but this is just run-of-the-mill Celtic. This is how you make it work. And then if you really want to know more about one or the other, just flip it in there and YouTube. Thank you. All right, so that's our jig. It's in 6/8, right? So a reel is in 4. So you either want to have beats 1 and beats 3 be our heavy beats, or 1 and then 1 and then 1, because you're playing really fast. So let me think. I wrote down some examples. Wait, what's another reel? Oh, hold on. I made a list of reels for me so I could remember what I was doing, because my brain starts to forget. Oh, here we go. And that's Mountain Road. Right? So I'm not playing all of my notes all pretty. They're all beautiful notes, but that's how we make it pop. We give it that little dance with the beat. Okay, so then when it comes to Celtic music, it's like, I always think of it like a Christmas tree, because you want to put ornaments on it, which for those of you guys who play Baroque music, you're going to be like, that's my jam, because that has that in common. And I know a lot of people who are super passionate about Baroque for the same reason, because you get to throw ornaments on there and you get to improvise and add a little bit. So I'm still playing with the same sort of thing. So all the little things that you think of when you think of Celtic music, I'm going to show you a couple that you throw in. Now, the rule is you don't do it like every single time you have this is the rule, because then it starts to sound really like predictable. So here's just a couple of them. So now that we know where our beat is, right? And he's important and he's strong, we're going to mess with it. And you add slurs, and slurs are delicious because we're going to use them to mix it up a little bit. So if I was playing one, I'll show you. Just a D scale, I'm putting my beats like that, right? But what you do in Celtic music to make it delicious is you slur it into the heavy beat. Now that we found the beat and he's important, then we kind of take the edge off a little bit by slurring into it. So see, it's just a little more delicious. All right, so, but you're not going to do it all the time. Let me see, what example do I have? Oh, so like, you know how tunes, when you play into them, how they always have the pickup, right? We're sliding, we're slurring into the heavy beat, which is something that you're doing. Right? You're doing that anyway, but that's the reason why we do it. It's a delicious little thing. And when you've got long, bunches of eighth notes and stuff, you can pick and choose where you find those slurs, but you kind of take the edge off of those heavy beats that we just found. That makes it so much more awesome. All right, so slides is another thing. Oh wait, there's one more tune I wanted to show you that has slurs going into. That's Tam Lin. I love this one. Love that one. So that is me taking it with my slurs and mixing it in. All right, so the next thing that I do, actually, it's a takeover from my jazz days, but it kind of fits into a lot of the things we're going to do, and it is slides. And I do a lot of these, and they just fit into a lot of different things, but I'm going to say, for a rule of thumb, just for our nice, Campbell soup condensed bunch of technique today, if you have a quarter note sitting by itself, slide into it to make it more delicious. And there's other things you can do it too, but that's one thing that I like to do, to accented quarter note. So a lot of you guys probably know Hunter's Chorus. That's in book 2 of Suzuki. Delicious. There's some slides that I love to do in that. Lissa Schneckenberger, one of my favorite fiddlers, she took Hunter's Chorus and made it a little delicious. fun.
Hey,
Another
Reva.
tune that
Reva,
What?
can you just talk real quickly a little bit about that technique of doing the slide? Because most of us are classical people and we're not supposed to slide. Like, because my finger's always up in the air and you're putting it down before you slide into the pitch.
Yes. So like, you know how when you have in classical music where you have a note and you have an ornament and you're supposed to do it going into it? Same sort of thing. I'm trying to think of the ornament. You just did one of those, sweetie. Oh, my daughter's doing book 4 right now. I can't remember what the piece she was doing. But so if I was doing it without the slide, I would go, but so just before I want to hit the note right on the beat so I don't go, and I'm hitting it about a half step low, like that. And you want to hit right on the beat so you're not like, you know, pushing everybody back beat wise. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sweet. All right. Keep that stuff coming. And if I don't have an answer, I will be honest and I will tell you I have no idea how that happened. But that one I had an answer to. So thanks. That made me feel good about myself. All right. So another, let's see, 2, 3 songs that have some really delicious slides in them. Drowsy Maggie. And then Mountain Road. Right? And then this one, actually, this one's for you, Anna. Calliope House. Love this tune. And this one, we played this together. She had played it on her electric cello like a boss. And so it has like a little bit of a rock beginning, but it's a Celtic tune and the slides sound just perfect. Calliope House, it's traditional. Sorry, microphone. So I'm not sliding all over the place and I'm not slurring all over the place, but when I have that quarter note sitting by himself, I got to do something with him. So I'm going to slide into him, or I'm going to do that thing that we all know and love, those little grace notes, the trills, the Scottish flick. So, and there's a bunch of different kinds. So I'm going to try and condense it again. But when you do that little trilly thing that you're going to add in there, sometimes you're to start from the note and then throw them in there. And sometimes you're going to play them right at the beginning like that. I'm going to show you something, because this is one of the one things that I know that is a rule of thumb, something called, and I'm going to use my Irish accent, because I listened to a CD once that taught me how to do it and I can't sound like an American when I say it. We're going to do a cut. It's a cut. When he says, oh gosh, I love that so much. And so the idea is, if you have 2 notes next to each other that are the same, what you want to do is you're going to play the first note, and then the second one, you're going to want to add a little grace notey guy. So it cuts the 2 notes apart, right? So the tune, The Musical Priest, that I love, our 4th notes, I think, are 2 notes that are the same thing. Right? So instead of playing by himself, I'm going to go. So I'm playing him, and then I'm adding him in the middle, and then back to the one again. And you got to do it really fast, like one of those. Have you ever seen bagpipers and they take their fingers and they're playing it and they like swat it with their finger like that? They like, blah, blah, blah. That's what we're trying to sound like here. I don't think we have any more in that section. There is more important. Anyway, so there's that tune. And then.
So Reva, so Karen asked if that earlier one, if that was a mordant, I guess a turn. So that's like a half turn, yeah? That's what Karen was saying.
Oh, you classical people. I haven't heard the word mordant in years. They're a lot like mordants, yes. But the thing is, there's like a whole bunch of them. But yes, Yes. I don't know if I can describe it more than that, but yeah, because there are the ones that are more it's like you play the note and then you play it above and then you play the one above and the below. That's another one. They're all delicious. Well, all I'm saying is throw the note above it if you want to learn more. But this is the fast and dirty way to do it.
Okay, well, so speaking of fast and dirty, my favorite gypsy fiddler is on the call. That's Ivan, and he asked if your ornament is a third up.
Oh no, it is a major second. But that's interesting because I was doing a lot of research for this, and because I was like, I know how to do it, but I don't know if I remember how to say it. So a Scottish fiddler that I watched, she was fabulous. Hers was actually a third. So when she was playing more Scottish. So that is a more Scottish thing to do, but very good point. I like that very much. Thank you. So yes, Mordant, I'm going to have to remember, so many years that I've played since I played a Mordant, but I'll have to look it up, but I love that. So I'm going to give you one more example of cutting that note in the middle. So there's a tune called Cooley's Reel. So. I broke those two guys and threw somebody in the middle. Oh, and that's another little thing that you like to do at the end. Play the note below, play a second below. And to that note, just kind of to accent the last note of a tune a lot of times, I have found. So, yeah, or let's see, one more example. So, Jig of Slurs. The second section. I got those two guys. Now, I will admit, I do not play fast. That is not my jam. So bluegrass, bless your hearts, guys. You play so fast. I don't run fast and I don't play very fast, but that's the one thing that you do that has to be fast. Yeah, we will go over this when we discuss bluegrass and jazz, actually. No, and rock. Oh, and then the last thing that I want to mention, and I'll give you kind of like a condensed version at the end, but the last thing is directly out of Scottish music. Now, and don't quote me on this, but kind of the understood main difference between Irish music and Scottish music, and they're so very similar, and they like love each other and they melt and stuff. But if you're wanting to take just the fiddle styles apart, the Irish has a little bit more ornamentation in the left hand, and the Scottish is a little bit more about the bow, a little bit of more funkiness. And of course, mine have married each other. And so now I'm just a mutt. But if you want to learn the Scottish thing, what you need to learn, and I'm going to say this in 3 different accents because I don't know which one's right. It's a tune called a Strathspey, or Strathspey. I don't know which one it is, but it's any of those. And it's the very familiar, it's the very, and you see, the person in the Highland dancing doing the like, ah! So, and when you read the music for a Strathspey, oh my goodness, Anna, you don't know how much I miss you. This bow is so
I wasn't going to say anything about the fact that your faceplate is broken and half your hair is gone. I was going to leave that till after the show.
I know. I have no idea how that happened. I miss you so much. So anyway, so that little snap it's called a Scottish snap, and it's a down and kind of a violent up bow, and you're going to get off the string, and it's just delicious. All right. Now Now, the cool thing about playing a Strathspey is in a lot of different styles, they don't, when they notate it, they're not going to tell you what the notation actually is. Like when we play jazz, I'm going to have to show you what it actually means versus what they actually write. But when you read a Strathspey, you've got your dotted eighth notes and your 16th notes all written out. So when you've got the long, the 16th is going to be off the string and the dotted one is going to be your long hard one. So that is one thing that I do love about Scottish music and that I very much appreciate them doing, because I would never know. But what I love now that I've kind of gotten a lot more comfortable, Strathspeys were hard. They were like the final frontier, not final, there's so much more I need to know in Celtic music, but that was like the final thing that I've learned. And it has given my playing so much more deliciousness because my up bows are so much fun. All right, so like there's a tune called Catharsis, which, remember Anna? Fabulous tune. We all love it. But since I've been practicing my Strathspeys, you kind of like give those up bows just a little more punch. So I hit the microphone again. So learning the Strathspey has been like, yeah, it gives your hand has to be really good and strong, because if you don't, you're going to drop the bow because it has to be really strong there within. But it gives you, you can really punch those little down bows and up bows. Atholl Highlanders, another tune that I've used for that. So this one, you're actually trying to sound like bagpipes because this is their jam. So, if I wasn't giving my up bows a punch, it would be, right? But you have that little bit of like, Anywho, love that. All right, so to recap Celtic, so beat is king. Your feet want to dance, so help them find the beat. Also, and I didn't mention this, and this is going to come in actually in fiddle, which we're about to do. But when you're playing like the jig or the other things, when you've got your big note, that beat one or beat four, or beat one and beat three, whatever, that's going to be with your arm, and the other guys are with your fingers and your wrist. And that's how you do it. You don't use everybody. It's a much more economy of motion. So you do that, slur into the strong beats to give it more of that dancey feel. Your slide, if you have a quarter note and he's not doing anything and you don't want to add a grace note, slide into it. But as we said before, slide in before the beat. Don't pull us down. We have to be right on the beat, because if we don't, somebody's going to fall down because they're dancing to us. So trills, grace note cuts, start by throwing them on quarter notes and like breaking them in two, or if you throw them wherever, there's so many rules, but that's my favorite rule. And that's what I'm sticking with. And then Scottish snap bowing. You learn that by doing a Strathspey. Strathspey, or Strathspey. All right. So we're going to move on to fiddle. And again, I'm condensing old-timey bluegrass Texas style. Everybody, I'm calling it fiddle today. Okay. If you want to be a purist, that's awesome. I want to be a purist someday too. But right now, this is how I fake it when I want to play a fiddle tune. So first thing you want to do that I've noticed a lot about fiddle players is you're going to want to drop your left hand. Violin and classical and cello especially, I'm sure it's very circles, right? Oh, Strathspey. Ooh, I like that. Strathspey. Gosh, I'm getting my accent. I have if we have time later, I have a dumb Irish joke. Not offensive, just offensive to the accent, but I'm really good at it. Okay, so you're going to want to drop this hand because we're not playing on the fingertips as much. It's not this big, round, beautiful tone. what I've noticed is they play more on the pads of their fingers. So it's kind of, I mean, you see like old time fiddlers and they're like playing like this and they sound amazing. But what you're trying to do is not to get that really bright, crystal clear sound as much as they're just pushing this authentic sound out of their instrument that I love. So first thing you want to do is not play like this, but kind of bring it down. Okay. Let's see. All right, so let's see, I'll play this section so you can kind of see the difference. I'm gonna try and play it like a classical with my beautiful technique. Okay, that hurt. Okay, so I'm now putting my fingers, I'm not gonna play on the tip. If there's just this authentic, delicious sound that works, okay? So the next thing you wanna do, you have this hand kind of drop, and it's not that he's lazy, you're just using him in a different, more economized way. The other thing is a shuffle bowing. So, and it's a lot like what we were talking about, big with the arm and then with little with the wrist. And it's very much economy of motion. There's not using a ton. So if you've ever been a kid in a Suzuki school, somebody put a bandana on you and some cute little boots and you played your Bile and Cabbage sound. Because, you know, you could play that or you could play, but you're doing big. You want to save, you know, those tiny little things, and it gives it more the dancey feel, like if you're playing, you know, the Celtic stuff. They're all related. But anywho, so that's what you do. Let's see, what's another Arkansas travel? That's something that like bluegrass players, especially when they go to their contests and stuff, they start with a shuffle. Very much with the fingers and the you got that. Okay, so shuffle bowing, then wrist bow changes. So like you guys have heard Devil's Dream. Instead of, you know, very much with the I want to use as little energy as possible because I'm going to be tired by the end of the night. So when I was a kid, years and years ago, yes, like a million years ago, I played Minuet 2 in a recital, and I was so proud of myself because, you know, Minuet 2 by Bach? You've got all those bow changes and everything. I was so proud of how many strings I was changing, and I wanted everyone to know. So I remember I made sure I would wave my arm as much as possible so everybody could see every bow. I must have looked like a bird trying to take off. I remember that every time I do this, I'm like, oh, that was not as cool as I thought it was. So I want to use as little as possible. And then the number one thing that makes you sound fiddle is a lot of this stuff is written in A, D, G, like these are our keys, man. You add double stops wherever possible. So right? But it adds works everywhere. Like, so that's Bile and Cabbage down. Now the next song, the next section. You could throw it in anywhere. And if it sounds a little excessive, you can give it a break, but it's such a cheap and easy way to make it sound very fiddly. So the second half of the chicken reel has a really good part for that too. So the first half goes. And it's not in the music, but if you can throw another string in there, do it. And if you know the theory behind it and you say, oh, well, that is a fifth, don't. Just throw in a string. If it sounds bad, just keep going. Pretend like you never did it. Silly, could you come here real quick? All right, so we're going to have a special guest real quick because playing Celtic music, or not playing Celtic, fiddle, like one of my favorite things to do with students is, so we know Bile them Cabbage down and we know Cripple Creek, right? Well, they have the same chord progression over here, hon. So they sound awesome together. So this is my daughter, Soleil. She's been playing for about 10 years. And so she's going to play Bile Them, Cabbage Down. I'm going to play Cripple Creek at the same time. And it's fabulous. All right. We don't even need a guitarist up in here. We got it all by yourselves. Ready, Soleil? Bile Them, Cabbage Down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you. Thank you. She'll be back in a minute. So that is, if you're a teacher or if you're just jamming with somebody else, stick those two together. You sound good. I taught at Duluth High School for one very interesting year. And one of my students was the one who showed me that. He was like, Mrs. P, do you know we could stick these together? And mind blown. And then I've told other people, they're like, yeah, that's 100% what it is. Okay, so.
Hey, Reva, 2 questions or 2. All right, the first question is, do you have your original sound turned on?
Do I have my, sweetie, do I have my original sound turned on?
On their Zoom, it's a Zoom thingy.
Turn on my original sound. It says turn on, sweetie. I have a sound guy over here.
The button. You have a sound guy. I love it.
Disconnect the button. Okay. Is that better? Is it, I should say, is it better while I'm playing?
Well, you have to play. We'll see. Oh,
yeah. All right. So I will explain that in just a second. By the way, my mother always told me, marry a pianist. Because she's like, then you always have a pianist, right? Nobody ever told me how awesome it was to marry a sound guy. Way more useful. Oh, bring my daughter in. You know what? She'll be back in just a second. And I got another fun thing for her to play. But real quick, I wanted to give you 3 tips about the Orange Blossom Special. Because if you play strings, they're going to request Orange Blossom Special. If you're hanging out with Anna, she will request the Orange Blossom Special a lot. So you need to do it. So first thing you do is there's the 3 main sections, right? So one thing to make it really fun, you got your guitarists and they're just like vamping on an E chord, right? Is it E? So you can do whatever you want. So you know, we have our traditional. Right, we got all that stuff going on there. So one thing you can do, because there's just vamping, and I heard this Billy Hill and the Hillbillies, was it? They used to play at Disneyland. I remember hearing that they vamped on this thing forever. And one thing that they did that I love, because you're supposed to sound like a train, right? So he was like. And then he just kind of took a break and then was. And made it sound like a train passing, so you play the note. And then you raise a little bit, and then you go back down. But if you move like this, people think that a train just passed you real fast. Okay, so the middle section, which is a bear, but it's the reason why everybody comes to see the show. Oh, so many hairs. I miss you so much, Anna. Okay, so the reason why everybody comes to see you is before this right here. Which is a bear. But the one tip that I learned when I was learning it, Vassar Clements, famous fiddle player, said that when he was learning it, somebody told him the way that you play it is, you know the old jazz tune, In the Mood? Right? It's the same rhythm. So that's a little trick to help you with that section. And then the last section, you have just suffered through those double stops. Your hand and your arm are exhausted. And then you're. What I do to cheat because I'm so tired at that point is I slur everything almost. All right, so that's just a little Reva original. You're welcome. That's how I cheat. Right there, but that is Orange Blossom Special. Wait, where did I go? Try to move the screen down. Hold on just a second. The last thing that I wanted to mention about fiddle music is if you're playing a waltz or something slow, remember how I was talking about getting that authentic sound out? So what you have to do as a classical player is you have to fight the urge, fight your training, fight your programming to vibrate, because it is an ornament that you throw at the end of the note. Okay, so Ashok and Farewell, one of the most beautiful tunes ever written. You want to play like this. Oh, because you're so pretty, but don't. Because if you want to sound authentic fiddle, you have to force yourself. And it's hard. Like, make yourself practice it with no vibrato, because you can sound terrible with no vibrato, or you can sound really good, depending on if you are allowing those finger pads to hit in the right way and allowing the sound to come out really like you formed it enough. Because you could play it fat. You could play it flat, but you can give it some shape and some love. And you add the vibrato at the end of the note as an ornament. So like the Tennessee Waltz. And then I vibrate him at the end, which gives a little mwah. But when you're playing a slower tune in fiddle, resist the urge. Okay, so my fiddle condense is drop your left hand, try and play in the pads of your fingers. Learn to do that shuffle to warm yourself up. Warm yourself shuffling. Economy of motion, use your fingers and your wrist, especially. Think of me trying to take off with my arm, playing Minuet 2, and you realize do not use the elbow. Bring it down. And use double stops wherever possible and appropriate. And then Orange Blossom Special, sound like a train, in the mood, and slur everything because you're really tired at that point. Give your bow arm a break. And then hold off on the vibrato. Okay? So, on to rock. We got rock left, and then jazz and blues and improv. Okay? So, rock. One of the nice things that we have living in this time is that we have Lindsay Sterling, and she has made an incredible name for herself playing what really works for her and doing dance moves that work for her, by the way, because I have tried it and I cannot rock that. So bless her heart. But Lindsay Sterling is definitely a classical violinist. And so her music is, but you put a thing behind her, you put like the backing track, she sounds awesome. So more power to her. I am not knocking it. So if you want to sound pop, rock, techno, and you want to play with her, you don't actually have to change your technique. You just have to play with the other cool stuff behind her. Like, so she's got, my daughter was learning crystallize. So I've got the music here. See if I can play a little bit of that. Right? That's very classical. It's beautiful. And it fits right in her hand. It's like Rachmaninoff wrote really good stuff that fit right. She writes stuff that's really, really good for her technique. And I respect that. And then she's got her like, right? Which I don't do because I don't speed. So, well, unless I'm driving. So anyway, Lindsay Sterling, actually, Anna, I emailed it to you, but when you post this on YouTube, I'm going to have a big list that you can put in the thing. I've got a link to her website, because the cool thing about her stuff is you buy her music, she sends you the backing track that's like the stuff that she plays when she performs, and kids eat it up. So booyah. All right, but if you want to sound like real rock, you can get an electric violin, and then if you do that, you buy like electric guitar pedals, and that's for your wah-wah sound and for your, grungy thing. You don't have to go to a special violin thing. You just go to a guitar shop and buy their stuff, and you can change it, whatever. But if you don't want to do that, to sound like an electric guitar, you're going to do this technique that I have that is like a wide vibrato / ponticello / harmonic. Did somebody bring an electric guitar via fiddle in for us?
Ask Ivan what he's got.
Ivan, please, what do you have?
Unmute.
Ooh, that's a Zeta Jazz?
This is an original Zeta Jazz Fusion with the MIDI out.
Delicious!
And I had them rejigger it so it works now with a Roland guitar synthesizer.
Oh!
This is like 25 years old.
That is delicious.
And
I've got a Zeta too, but it's not the Fusion, but it's somewhere.
And
I'll have
may
to
I
find it.
say that when all this is said and done, I will introduce you through email. Y'all should be friends.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Oh, and who's that?
That's Ivan too. Ivan's got like 100.
Oh, what's that?
This is a Guscott X10. There's only 2 of them in the world. I have one. Ian Coleman has the other. Ian Cooper, rather. And this side is a 5-string cello, and this side is a 5-string violin.
You, sir, are my hero. That is awesome. Oh my
It
God.
just weighs 4,000 pounds. But
That's still, you're holding like 3 instruments. Oh my goodness, sir. That's amazing. Okay. Can we talk later?
absolutely.
Yes, please. I want to hear later. Yes, yes, yes. I have Zeta in here, but I'm not going to show you how to do that because I'm showing you what acoustic, sound is, but we're going to play with that later. All right. So if you want to sound like an electric guitar, what you do is you slide into the note, right? But then you do a wide vibrato, harmonic. You're not going to press down on the string. And then you play close to the bridge, so you have a ponticello sound going. So you want to like scratch up into your bridge and then allow your finger to just get all the distortion it wants out of there. All right, so the only other thing that really, because there you go. Oh, and also if you're playing, you're trying to sound like your electric guitar, you're also like, picking, you want to sound like the pick. So you're not going to hit each note. You're kind of trying to hit it like somebody's attacking it with a pick. It's a plucking thing. Okay, I have to bite these off. I'm sorry. I will get it fixed very soon, Anna. I'm super embarrassed. So what I want to play for you, showing you that technique, is Daniel Bernard Romain. I want to say his name. I've got it in the links. It's a tune he's got called Filter that he wrote, I want to say, for Rachel Barton Pine, but she recorded it. And so he sells a version on his website that's a little more truncated. I actually got to perform it with him. He was traveling through Arizona when I was going to Arizona State, and they asked me to do it with him. So I got to play. So this is a tune called Filter, and the first part's kind of like, and it's unaccompanied. The first part's like a cadenza. You're supposed to sound like Jimi Hendrix. And then what it's supposed to sound like is, how like you're listening to stereo speakers and you shift between the two, so it goes from ear to ear, like, right? Like you change what is it called? Not the channels? Something. Pan. The who? Pan. There you go. So I'm doing that by going from my bridge to over here, but I'll get to that in a second. So I wanted to, this tune is called Filter, and this is a very truncated version, but I'm going to show you the rock sound that you get out of it. Isn't that delicious? Oh, thank you, Anna. Thank you. 10 minutes. Dagnabbit. Okay, moving on to jazz real quick. Okay, so anyway.
You don't have to, because since we're doing, some people are putting questions in the chat box, you can keep talking. You don't have to stop at 8:30 for questions. You can do your thing.
Okay, good. But Maybe I only have 10 more minutes, so let's pretend that I'm whatever. No, but I do, because I want to talk about jazz, which I love. That's actually my first love. That's where I started. I played classical all the way up until high school, and then I got my first electric violin because the marching band had so much more fun in school than us. So I told my dad, I want to play in the pep band at basketball games. So he bought me an acoustic electric black violin, and I pulled my little amplifier up, and I played that at bass band, and my dad was like, you could play jazz with this. So this is my first love, actually, even though I've moved on to other things. This is where I started. So first off, playing jazz, blues, swing, like again, I'm saying I'm condensing it. They are very different and bebop, separate things. I am melting them into one today. So first thing you need to know to play the jazz, the blues, the swing, is you gotta lean back in your chair. And that's not just an attitude, although it is. You're not gonna be playing on the front end of the beat. You want to play just at the very back, so you're almost late. So leaning back really helps that, because you're starting to feel like, oh, I got this. All right, so you're gonna be playing from the middle to the tip of your bow. You do not really want to be playing here at the frog, and because what we're trying to do is we're trying to emulate the sound of like air blowing through a horn. So this is where you get a really nice smooth sound. This is where we get some nice articulation, but we don't really want that most of the time. So what's that bumper sticker that says friends don't let friends clap on beat 1 and 3? So first thing you have to do is feel 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those. Just feel it with me for a minute till we get into it, right? 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. So, like I said, when it came to Strathspey's, and I was like, thank you for notating it exactly what they mean, because jazz does not notate what they mean. You're supposed to figure it out. So if I'm playing my eighth notes, right? That's what it says. But what you have to do is you have to swing the eighth note. So the first one is dotted, and the second one is the little flaggy guy. So instead of it goes. So you see eighth notes? That's what you're doing. Now, if I look at the music, it looks like rude, but you know what? It would be exhausting to throw all those dots and the little flags in there. So they're saving some printing. Maybe that's what it is. Or they think we should know what we're doing. Okay, so another song if I'm feeling 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just below the beat or just behind the beat. And a little thing that I do at the very end. So if you've ever heard a trumpet or a saxophone player play, they play the note boo, and then there's this little breath of air that they're blowing through boo. So at the end of my phrases, what was the note? There we go. It's an A. I kind of do just the very slightest of harmonic sort of vibrato to just make it sound like breathy. That's just a little breathy thing that you do at the end. And I'll show you that in another second. Soleil, can you come here, hun? All right, I'm going to bring my daughter back because this tune, it was written by Cannonball Adderley's pianist. I never knew that. I just thought it was something that Daryl Anger made up to teach at camps. But it's not. It's a real tune. It's called Mercy, Mercy. And the same sort of thing. It has a little bit more punch, but I'm going to try and play from the middle to the tip. Tell me if we need to have my spectacular sound guy adjust it, if all. But anyway, she's going to play the background for it. This is a tune called Mercy, Mercy, Mercy that Daryl Anger, who is... he plays bluegrass. He plays jazz. I saw him on a Jean-Luc Ponty DVD like playing. He was like so young, just like he just jumped on the stage playing, mandolin. I swear he was like 12, but he had a lot of facial hair, so maybe he was a little older. Anyway, he's like the godfather. So anyway, he taught me this tune, and I teach it to like everybody because it's just awesome. But we're playing it slower than usual, right? We're trying to play it more swingy. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So thank you, sweetie. Could you go upstairs and get, I wrote down the 12 bar blues on a thing and I left it on the kitchen table like a genius. All right. So I had to play that tune because that is a beautiful version. Oh, it's amazing. So Karen, have you heard what's his face? Daryl Anger? It's delicious to hear because that's how he teaches chopping.
So Reva, she asked, have you been to Fiddle Hell? I guess it's a camp. Have you been to Fiddle Hell?
No, but it's in Massachusetts, right? I've heard, and no, I have not.
It's online this year. It was online for last year, and it's online this April.
So
and Daryl's teaching at it.
Isn't he the best? Oh,
yeah, I had him at Swananoa. He's wonderful.
He was at Swananoa?
Yeah.
Oh, I want both of those things at the same time. Oh my goodness. Daryl and Swananoa. That is delicious. Oh, anyway. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I'll totally have to check it out. Thank you. Because I live in Utah for some weird reason. So I live far away from everything I know and love. I mean, I live with my family. I'm big fans of them, but we keep moving away from the interesting people. All right.
Hey, wait, Stephanie wants to know if you're going to demonstrate chopping.
I am not going to demonstrate chopping because I can fake it on that tune. That's like the one tune that's the one that I can make it work. But for the most part, I'm just like, you stare at Daryl and you're like, what? But you can go online and see all of Jeff. But chopping, I would love to show you, but I didn't want to give you like a inferior product when you could go and you could get some straight from Daryl. Although I can give you one cheat about chopping. If you're not good at chopping like I am, to get that really nice choppy sound, because he's like, he can do that, right? I put my fingers over the strings to just cheat because it's going to sound nasty anyway. So when I do that, I will, anyway. But yes, we need to find somebody who knows how to chop, and I will come and I will learn how to chop because it is delicious. That is an amazing technique. Okay, back to jazz. I wanted to play you guys one more jazz standard called Doxy, and I actually got, because I thought it was really good at demonstrating what I've been talking about. Also, one more thing. So you know how, trumpet or saxophone players mostly, how they tongue a note? You can tell when they use their tongue. So like they're like doo-doo-doo or doo-doo-doo. They use their tongue to kind of push it out. That's kind of a sound that I'm going for when I'm playing. When I'm playing jazz, I'm trying to like hit my notes so that it's just slightly, I'm tonguing it. All right, so let's see. Doxy is a jazz standard by Sonny Rollins. And hopefully you guys can hear it. You guys hear it? Anywho, so hopefully that shows you the kind of sound you're trying to get out of your violin or your cello, viola, everybody. And it's the same sort of thing in fiddle. You are not going to vibrate almost ever unless you're at the very end of the note and it's like, I don't know. Kind of breath, or I could maybe a little bit at the end. But so you have to fight your programming, fight your urge, so you will sound real. Make it sound awesome without vibrato. And vibrato's fantastic. I have the dickens of a time teaching vibrato because it's so tricky, but it does not belong where we are. Okay, so now really quick, I want to introduce us to improvisation. And this is going to be very basic, and this is going to be very string centric instead of, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, you find a jazz musician and say, I'd love to improvise. And they're like, can I talk theory with you? And jazz theory is the most complicated thing in the world, I swear. And they love it. They're the supertonic made friends with the almost tonic, and the flat 42nd. Oh my gosh, bless their hearts. So I'm going to approach this real quick, like a string player does. And improv, and I will tell you why it's important before I explain a little bit, and then I'm going to sprinkle some theory on at the bottom, on the top. The important reason is I was at a wedding a few years ago, and I told my friend I would play for her wedding, and it was just me standing in the corner. I didn't have any music with me because who needs that for a wedding when you're playing by yourself? Just play some pretty little tunes, whatever. And I had some tune picked out that I was going to play when she walked down the aisle. She walks in the back door with her dad. My mind went blank. She was gorgeous, and I could not remember a single song I'd ever learned. I was just like, but thankfully I have spent years improvising. So she got a Reva Paget world premiere original. I have no idea what I played, but I was just faking it all over the place. Thank heavens I am comfortable with improving. So improving is a life skill that can save you and not ruin your friend's wedding. So important there. Okay, so I am going to show you when I start teaching improv, this is my favorite thing. This is a book called Fiddle Jam. I don't know if you can see. A way cool, easy way to improvise. And it is by Jeffrey Fitzhugh Perry. And he does an incredible job at approaching it like a string player. So actually it comes with a CD, and I'm going to show you the first true track. So, because I can explain it, but it's going to make so much more sense if I have him explain it, and I'll show you while I'm doing it. Okay. So, what he's going to do is first track. Let me open him up. He kind of explains what we're going to do. And then there's a backing track on the second tune. So he's going to tell us what to do. So hold on.
Jam stuff for the Raven's daughter.
Uh-huh.
First off, it's in G major.
G major. Okay.
And of course, you can do anything you want with those notes. But if you want to sound a bit cooler, try skipping the fourth note and the seventh note of the scale. That's the C's and the F sharps. I do that quite often. If you want to sound a bit bluesier, try sliding into the B's. Any B.
All right, so what I love is he's explaining, and that's a huge part of improv, is that you need to know what your key is, where you are, because that tells you what notes are going to work. And then he's got this backing track that you're going to hear. But I love, he's like, okay, we're in G, and these are the notes that work. Okay, so we're going to do that in a second, but I'm going to give you some caveats, because I have studied a lot of jazz, and let me tell you all the things you're not supposed to do as a string player. Ready? Okay, number one, you want to sound pretty as a string player. You want to play all the pretty notes, and you just want to keep playing, and it's so nice. But you can't, because first off, the ear is like, take a break. So you have to shape it and frame it and put it in phrases. Okay, you can't just keep playing no, because that's what string players love to do. So the idea is we're trying to emulate a saxophone. I'm taking this more from a jazz standard way, but a saxophone or a trumpet player, a guy who plays Windsor brass, they can only play as long as they can breathe. And that forces them to make nice phrases. So when you are trying to improvise, how about you try to only play as long as you can breathe? So, okay, I hyperventilated when I tried to do this earlier, but let's see, you ready? It's a good exercise, but did you see how it wasn't? That's what we're trying to get away from. String players were not allowed to do it. Pianists, maybe they can, but they're playing with 10 fingers. We're only using 4, so we're not allowed, okay? And then the other really important rule is you're always a half step away from the right note, right? So if you play something and it sounds wrong, all you have to do is go up a half step or down a half step and it's going to sound right. But the trick is, what you have to do is you have to play that note like 3 or 4 more times to make it sound like you meant it. And then you resolve it. So I'm like, right? So, and then I'm going to play this other, last little bit I'm going to tell you. So I spent like a week studying with David Baker when I was very young. And David Baker, one of the world's greatest jazz theory pedagogues, amazing. And he actually was a trombone player who, because of an accident, ended up having to pick up the cello. So he was our people. So I got to study with him, but he played like a trombone player. So his phrases were very like, he knew it. And he also knew jazz theory. The rabbit holes. But one thing that he made us do in this class that I was in was all of us were string players and we were kind of new to jazz and we still wanted to sound pretty. You know, we were still vibrating. We were still using whatever. He made us play solos that were only the wrong notes. He was like, I want you to play a solo, but make it sound good, but it has to be nothing that sounds right. So, right? Stuff like that. But actually, that sounds pretty good. But so do you see, but what he taught us is like, you have to sell it. So no matter what you do, you have to sell it. So I'm going to go on and I'm going to show you the next track. So I've got my G scale, right? And I'm skipping 4 and 7 and I'm sliding into my B's. All right, track 3. All right. This is all kind of in a G thing. We don't need to hear me going on because then I'm just having way too much fun. You're just watching. But so you get the idea. You find those notes that work. And the best way for us as string players to start is to find, so you can go on YouTube and you can get backing tracks. Or you try this book because he does a really awesome job of like breaking it down and doing more and more styles. Love it. But you can go on YouTube and you can just say, I want a backing track in A. And so you've got a band playing whatever style you want. And you're like, okay, I know what notes sound good in A. And you just mess around with it. And that's, as string players, I think that's the best thing for us to do. Because when you are approaching improvisation from another standpoint, what you actually do is you take a tune and they have, their chord progressions and stuff. And so you have to be like, okay, we're in C. Oh, but now we're in this. So I have to figure out what a note is good in there. And that's like next level. But what we're trying to do is get comfortable. And so that is my thing that I think that the very next thing that string players should do. Start there and then you can. Okay, and the very last thing I'm going to show you is the 12-bar blues, right? So I made this up today. So the 12-bar blues are what you basically start learning improvisation, right? So 12-bar blues is the idea that you have 12 measures and you've got the 1 chord for 4 measures and then you got the 4 chord for 2 measures and then you got the 1 chord for 2 measures and then the 5 chord and the 4 chord and the 1 chord, right? Sounds like jazz? Yes? Okay. So this is where you start learning to improvise. You listen to, you get whatever key you want. And so I'm going to play one in C, right? It's the C jam blues because, you know, that's like the number one tune you learned. So it's going to be a C. So I'm going to play C chord. I can play anything that sounds good in C for 4 measures. And then I play anything that sounds good in F for 2 measures. And then anything that sounds good with a C chord in 2 measures. And then I've got a G chord. And then I've got an F chord. And then I'm back to the C chord. I hope I didn't lose anybody. But I'm going to play the roots. Let's see. Where's the C jam blues? Here we go. There's my C. Then I got on my 4 to my 1, and then my 5. This is the main tune. 2, oh, 2. So that's the C blues. And then there are, and you can go bonkers and you can call a jazz musician and they will lose their minds going, oh, if you play the flat 7th going into the root of the next chord, but then you add a super bunny tonic. That's probably something. And so they have lots of fun ideas about all the notes that fit, but it doesn't matter because as long as you use what I showed you, maybe playing the rock or maybe playing just these little stylistic things what you do with your fingers, you sell it. You make it work. So you play that note. That note didn't sound good. You play it a few times and they go on to the next one. So that's our very, very basic introduction to improvisation. Find a backing track in any key, play around with the notes that sound good in that key, and then find a jazz musician and they can really make your head hurt. They really do.
Karen was asking, do you play any note that's in that chord or basically the tonic?
Yeah, any note that's in the chord. So very good. Let me show you. Let me put my headphones back on. Very good question, Karen. That's the place to start is play the root, right? But then the idea is anything that sounds good in C. Chord stacks, yes. You're making my head hurt already. So this is my C. Oh, my flat 7th. I will say after that week with David Baker, I think I spent another week with the Turlough and String Quartet, and we were doing improv, and I was like, you guys, you don't have to play any of the right notes, because I was having such a good time selling all of them. And they were like, no, you have to play some of the right notes. I was like, but don't they sound good? It took a while for me to like change the dial back to like stuff that's supposed to sound right. Anywho, so there we go. Ask away if you have any questions. That is my knowledge of how to fake it in any of those genres, and then also a couple other ones that have accidentally come my way.
I actually have a personal question. As a 100% pretty much classical musician, how long did it take you to stop having to think about the notes?
So what style are you talking about?
Any style. So for instance, your entire talk, I'm having a blast and I'm sitting here planning how I can do it, but I'm sitting here going, okay, F, A, C, okay, play Fs. Oh, wait, play Gs. But at a certain point, I'm assuming you stopped thinking about the notes.
So the lucky thing about me is my IQ for theory is very low. So I've always kind of played by ear, but that is a really good place to start. But so for me, I've been really lucky, and if you try and force yourself to play by ear, it'll happen. Like, don't look at the chords. Jamie Ebersole, he's like, you know, the most well-known jazz pedagogue ever. I was at one of his camps and he said some kid came up to him because, you know, all those camps are like nothing but theory. They're like, just let's sit around and talk about theory. Like, I just sit in the corner and cry until they let me play a song and then they go back to theory. But some kid was like, I have such a hard time. I just play by ear. And he was like, you are one of the lucky ones. Because there are some people who can't, and it's really hard to develop that ear. So if you're lucky like me and you can't understand theory, you can ignore it pretty quick. But if you do it like, instead of like saying, okay, I want to play this really complicated song, like I'm going to play I Got Rhythm, you know, which is like, you know, the chords go blah, 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 blah. You start somewhere basic and you have a lot of fun and it's really easy to forget. I promise.
Okay. All right, if any of you guys have questions, type them in the chat box, or you can raise your hand. I can't see everybody's thing, so the chat box is a little better. While you're doing that, I want to just throw a couple of things out, a little commercial to everybody. First of all, one of our guests tonight that's on there is Eric Salazar. He's actually doing our April 8th class on the beauty of basics. So hi, Eric. We're really glad you're here tonight. And in case y'all don't all know it, the month of March is, what is it called? It is called, I lost it. Music. It is the International Honor the Parents of Musicians Month. Now, I always want to honor my own parents because they're here on the screen too. But we got to like throw a big giant shout out to Reva's parents. Reva, introduce your parents for us.
There's my parents, John Kuzmich and Rosalind Kuzmich. Dad, say hi. My dad is a jazz pedagogue like nobody's business, and whatever instrument, back years ago. So he's got, you know, he does band. Years ago, my mom went out of town. My mom also, the world's greatest fake it at pianist ever. I never had to hire a pianist when I was in high school and I was like auditioning for stuff. My mom could like take those concerto cards. She just picked the stuff that was important and she could hack it out. Anyway, she was my first violin teacher. But my dad, my mom went out of town and I turned my violin, all of my pegs out. And I was like, oh, Dad, I can't practice violin. It's out of tune. I'd never seen my dad touch a string instrument in his life. His main instruments, clarinet, all those guys. He tuned it. It was a very sad moment in my life because I had to practice that day. But thanks, Dad. He's awesome. So John Kuzmich, if you ever have any questions about music technology or jazz pedagogy or how to play Metallica, he just got into that recently. Give him a holler.
I love your dad.
Me too.
And your mom. So we've had a few people and they just said thank you so much. And Karen said she loves your energy.
Improv style starting point.
Hey, Mom, you should mute, but it's good to see you.
Hey, they unmuted. Done.
I can mute them, not a problem. Okay, so I don't see any more questions. So I'm seeing a lot of people wave and say thank you. Their mouths are moving. We're going to have 7 more classes after tonight. Next week, I want to say that Marta Slubowska, I think I got that right. She's super cool. She's going to do a thing on the secrets of memorization and using your brain to memorize. So for those of you guys that are like struggling memorizing your Mozart concerti, next week is your time. You're going to love it. I didn't introduce myself and tell you that I am Anna Huthmaker and we are from Huthmaker Violins. And I just want those of you guys that are new, I want to say welcome. We do this because we love music and musicians more than anything. But our special place in our heart is adult amateurs, people that are truly embracing their instruments just because they love it more than anything. And we are glad you're here. If you have any questions, notes, suggestions for future classes, email me. Go to the huthmakerviolins.com website. Email me. You can send a message through our YouTube channel. And I know I'm forgetting something, but I think that my mom can yell at me if I'm forgetting anything, but I think that's pretty much. Yes, the recordings of this session will be on tomorrow. Huthmaker Violins YouTube channel. That's That's where all the good stuff is. So, and we would love to see you there. And please share this. Can you just agree with me? This was like the most fun ever. Seriously, most fun ever.
I had a blast.
This is what I knew I forgot. You're getting a lot of applause. Reva mentioned it. I want to make sure you all know she's going to send me lists of tunes, links, all that kind of stuff that she talked about. I'll put it 2 places. I'll put it in the Huthmaker Violins YouTube channel and on the Facebook events in the comments. It'll live there forever. If you can't find it, email me. I'll send it to you. I want to make sure you all have that. Sound good? All right, I'm going to turn off the recording. Ivan, if you want to stay and talk to Reva for a second. Reva, if Reva's parents, if you want to hang out and say hello to your daughter. And the rest of you guys, I'll see you next week. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank
This
you,
was
Reva.
awesome.
You
Thank
are
you, Huthmakers.
amazing.
Mwah.
All right, Reva, you were a rock star and a half. Thank you. We loved it.